What's up, guys? Welcome back to another live trading video. It's been a minute since I've done one of these, so I'm very excited to get back into this. Of course, I've still been trading, but it's a lot of work to film these videos of me trading because I have to come back and update every few days or hours, whatever the trade is doing, which kind of does keep me tied up. But I'm excited to be back and doing it because I've got a little bit more time now that we've just finished and kind of released the A1 trading dashboard here, what you can see on the screen. There is a link in the description if you would like to purchase this tool. It's a software tool that we worked probably for about a month on to get finished, but you can check it out there if you have any interest. So anyways, today we're taking a look at USD ZAR. This is the dollar versus the South African rand, and I am currently short on this position or this chart. So let's talk about why exactly. If we actually take a look here at the trends panel, what you can see is that on the higher time frames, according to the daily scan and well, actually just mainly the daily scan, you can actually see that the USD ZAR is a quote unquote strong sell. And what that means is that on the higher time frames, the overall trend is to the downside. We can take a look at that, just minimize this for a moment. Take a look at that daily chart and you can see we are in fact in an overall downtrend. A lot of bearishness on this pair throughout a lot of 2020 and much of 2021 as well. So again, strong sell on that daily chart. And then for the most part, kind of mixed on the 4-hour, 1-hour, and 15-minute chart. So let's go ahead and actually break it down on the lower time frames, why I entered into this position and how it's going so far. So this is a very fresh position. I just took this trade about, 2 hours ago or so, and now we're taking a look here. What you can see is that basically on that daily time frame, we've got the overall downtrend. With that said, on the 4-hour chart, if we take a look here, we can go, actually, let's jump to the 4-hour chart, and you can see we've kind of got this little head and shoulders sort of pattern where we've got up here, we've got a left shoulder, the head, of course, and what seems to be a potential right shoulder. And what that means in a very simple sense is that we have a lower high. And this kind of is an indication that potentially the trend or the short-term trend here is looking to reverse, which actually ultimately favors that long-term trend that, like I said, I'm looking to be a part of on that daily chart. Okay, so that's the general principle. We'll take a look at the 1-hour chart really quick and talk about kind of where I got in here. You can actually see on the 1-hour chart, there's this little uptrend here that broke to the downside. And this combined with that lower high was basically where I looked to get short. Okay, so price came up to this point, formed that lower high, started to break down. And on the break of this, I basically said, okay, I want to jump in short. Took a small position here, only about 0.16 lot size. In fact, this is about a risk on this trade of $160, let's say, which is really pretty small relative to this account size. But the whole point with doing that and keeping it small is because today is MLK Day in the US. And so markets are trading, of course, but they're trading on a little bit less volume than usual, just because a lot of traders in the US are out of the office. This is not a day trade, though. It's more of a swing trade. So I'm willing to hold this for a few days, most likely, unless, of course, price rallies to my stop, which let's go ahead and talk about the stop loss and we'll kind of address that. So if price goes back to that point where basically it formed that quote unquote lower high, right? Potentially, right? We don't know that that's going to be the top of this run. It could, of course, continue, and that would end up being where I stop out. Because if price comes up to that point again, I'm probably just going to stop out and assume that it's most likely going to rally back to this point here, right? So I don't want to add extra risk onto the position. So of course, that's where we're at with this. So that being said, we took this sell position on the break of this structure, and now we've got a stop locked in. Now you'll notice that I don't have a take profit on this trade. And if you're familiar with the way I trade, I usually use trailing stops and I'm looking to let trends run as much as possible. Let's talk about one more signal here. You can actually see that this is some bearish RSI divergence. Now, if you're not familiar with RSI divergence, we can actually take a look at the RSI. Let me just pull this up really quick. We'll go to the scanner section and you can see that I've got bearish RSI divergence turned on. So I was actually looking for potential signs of a turning point to go in favor of against this counter trend to the upside and in favor of that long-term trend to the downside. So let's look at the RSI. I'll go insert indicators. We'll go find the oscillator here. relative strength index, and bam. Okay, so what this is saying is that the price itself was making higher highs and moving higher, whereas the RSI was printing differently, right? Saying that momentum is not that strong. It's actually changing directions. And that is where we get this printed line here. You can notice that RSI is kind of forming lower highs there, whereas the price is forming higher highs. That's all it's saying. And it's saying potential signs of a reversal. You can see since then we've made a move to the downside, and now I'm looking to be a part of that continuation. We'll see if it happens, and whether it is a winner or a loser, I'll post it on YouTube for you guys to judge me and to make fun of me if I lose money. And you know, if it works out, then great. We'll see how it goes. I'll keep you guys updated on what happens next, and stay tuned. All right, guys, so USD ZAR here has moved in my favor pretty nice, and I'm pretty happy with how this one is moving so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move up my stop to break even, and let me actually just also, this is how I use this tool in case you guys have seen or you saw the video that I made about my approach to using this Fibonacci tool to gauge my risk management. What it does is it allows me to see where my initial stop was, where my entry was, where the 1R and 2R is respectively, just so I get an idea. As when I move this, you'll see it kind of acts as a placeholder. So initially we had a risk here on this trade of 160 bucks. Again, not a ginormous risk or anything like that, but just pulling this down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lock in just about break even there, slightly more than break even, just to cover any sort of swaps or commissions or fees that are associated with this. But again, from here, the goal is just to let this thing run. If we do break through pretty decisively through that 2R, then I will likely go ahead and bring my stop more up. I will lock it, I guess, more down. I will lock in more of the trade. But what I like about this trade so far is that the pullback zone has pretty much switched to our favor on the 1 hour chart, which basically tells me that, okay, things are starting to trend here to the downside. And these pullback zones are generated by the dashboard tool, the A1 trading dashboard that you can see over here. If I go to scanner, there it is, it's set to true. I could turn it off if I wanted to, but leaving it on there just gives me an idea of kind of what the trend is doing, what the pullbacks are looking like. So as long as we remain bearish here, I'm very interested in continuing to hold this thing. And really what you'll see is my stop is kind of outside of that zone. So if price does break through that area, then I will just close out for break even at this point. But now this still gives me an idea of what my initial risk was, right? So it's still visible here, but I've actually moved that stop to break even to kind of lock in some of the trade, or at least not take a loss on this trade. I really like to do that because if I can move to break even, what it does is it mentally helps me out. And that's a big part of trading, because I know, people say, oh, you shouldn't move stops to break even. It doesn't actually help your trading. But for me, one of the biggest things that does help my trading is making sure that the strategy that I am trading is very comfortable to me. And this gives me kind of that mental security to be like, okay, I don't have to sit here and watch this thing. I can give it time. And if I'm really correct about my trade, I can just come back and see that it's done more in my favor. And if I'm just not right about it, then no worries. I'll just take a free trade or a break-even trade, whatever you want to call it. We'll just walk away from this one. So of course, I'd like it to keep going lower, and that's what I'm hoping for it to do, in favor of that long-term trend that we talked about in the first part of the video. And from here, I'll leave you guys for a bit, and we'll come back for an update on this in just a few hours or maybe a day or so. All right, guys, and I ended up closing out USD ZAR there for a really nice profit there of about 2R on my initial trade. If you remember, we jumped in here as price was breaking through this kind of upward channel. Price continued down in my direction for a while, and I ended up closing this position. Now you might be saying, well, Nick, why didn't you trail stops on this? That's usually what you'll do. And if you do know that about me, then thanks for watching the channel, and I appreciate the support. Today I actually closed this position, or I guess it was while I was sleeping. I set a take profit right around this area with the intention of just going ahead and closing out this position if it hit 2R or somewhere around there, because I had some other trades that I wanted to jump into. We also have today being the inauguration day in the US, which could, I'm not sure, but we'll see. It could cause some sort of volatility in the markets. And so I wanted to close out of some of my positions. I do have other trades running at the same time. And I also have some other positions that I'd be willing to jump into that I plan on executing today. So with that said, I wanted to go ahead and just get out of this one. So took a nice profit there. In the end, let me see, I'll pull it up. You'll see it on the screen in just a second. Ended up closing $331.56 on this trade. So not bad at all. All we did really was we just called out, we saw this lower high forming, we saw the break through the structure, and we got short to ride that little downward momentum. Now, again, I said earlier that I probably wanted to stay in this trade as long as we remained bearish. So I actually do intend on still looking for more bearish opportunities in this pair. So with that said, I will probably jump back in. But like I said, there's a couple trades that I want to jump into. I want to watch gold today, and I want to trade the S&P during this time. So I needed to free up some risk on my account, and I'm very happy with how this trade has gone so far. If it keeps dumping, then of course I'll be like, Nick, you should have just stayed in that one. But that's hindsight, and I can always re-enter and look for another opportunity to try and get involved again on USD ZAR. So very happy with how this trade played out. Again, just a very simple trend continuation, breakout from the counter trend. I want to highlight that this dominant trend on that daily chart, so we had the daily downtrend, so daily downtrend. We had kind of like a 4-hour uptrend, right? 4-hour uptrend. And then we kind of saw this start to deteriorate in favor of the overall trend again. And that is where we jumped in short. So when this bullish trend started to kind of fail, right? We had this higher high, lower highs right here, and then the break through this kind of line of defense, if you will. Lots of green, lots of bullish there. When that broke, I was very interested in being short. You can see this is where we entered, put a stop just above that structure or around the high of that structure, because the idea was that if it rallies from here, then I want to very quickly get out of that, because I would probably, just based on the trend, it's going to want to go back to that recent high. As we know about trends, a basic definition that we use on this channel is higher highs. And so for this trend to continue, it would have wanted to make a higher high, and that would have been a very natural kind of zone to zone, quote unquote, if you will. So end up taking a nice profit there. You can see it's kind of bouncing a little bit today. We'll see where it goes from here. I will of course jump back into this trade if I see something that I really like. And that is that. Thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, please subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and leave a like down below. It does help to support the channel. Have a great rest of your day, and happy trading.